They're nicknamed Katrina tattoos, X's which mark the date a house was searched, how many people were found, whether they were alive or dead. You still see a lot of Katrina tattoos in the lower Ninth Ward in New Orleans, but you also see and hear evidence of resurrection. Welcome to All Souls Episcopal Church, the first Episcopal church in the lower Ninth Ward ever.
I am absolutely and totally convinced that the hand of God is going before us here in this congregation. The fact that the Episcopal church is down here in the lower Ninth Ward is a God-driven thing.
Take, eat. This is my body.
From this abandoned Walgreens drugstore, after the great deluge that was Katrina, a church emerged. All Souls is a place for the community to gather, as I learned during the week I visited the church in the summer of 2009. I got the tour, including the community clothing table, and later we went into the huge back room of this old drugstore, where All Souls stores its supplies for future renovation.
We need to fry the fish. One day I say, ooh.
And where it hosts time-honored church events such as this Tuesday evening community fish fry.
People know that we are here by our several ministers. There's hardly a day passed that someone doesn't come here asking us if we can help them to restore their homes and their lives.
We've got a portable generator over here, and I think that if I can get some gas in it, we might be able to get that started.
At the helm of all this activity is Father Lionel Wright, a man who was ordained an Episcopal priest fairly recently.
This is my third full-time career. First, I was a healthcare administrator, and I was a McDonald's owner-operator. And now I am an Episcopal priest. And don't ask me how I got there, because this too is the hand of God.
Father Lionel landed here as vicar of All Souls. Father Wright freely volunteers the fact that he's 70 years old, and why not? He possesses more energy than a lot of people I know who are still in their 30s.
People meet me and they said, "How are you doing, Lionel? How are things going?" And I tell them how blessed I am to be here. And even, Jim, for an old man like me whose days are almost always 14, 16 hours per day that are nonstop.
And of course, you'll find all the traditions of the church here at All Souls, including Sunday worship, children's Sunday school.
Shall we flip over then and go to 2 Samuel, or do we want to? Let's go to 2 Samuel.
And an adult Bible study that I had the honor of joining on one of my Sundays in New Orleans.
We get glimpses of God's glory regularly here. There's hardly a day passed that someone or something doesn't happen that gives us a glimpse of that.
All Souls' location on St. Claude Avenue in the lower Ninth Ward puts it at the crossroads for the dozens of work teams which still come each month in the wake of Katrina, including these folks from the Episcopal Diocese of Western New York.
We've had over 10,000 volunteers who have come through Episcopal Community Services in the past 4 years.
At this house on Tupelo Street, a few blocks from All Souls, the project of the day was hanging drywall. Along with the teenagers from upstate New York, 3 young adults from England are also working at this house.
So this is the Diocese of Western New York? Yes. All right. We're going to watch your work. This house we've been doing mudding and sanding and some clean up here and there. Mudding. Yeah. How many folks you have down? 39. 39 people get down.
I think the entire story of the recovery in New Orleans and the ministry that's being carried out under the name of the Episcopal Church, it's really a ministry that's shared and owned by the entire national church and the broader church.
I happened to be in New Orleans in the sweltering heat of late July because of a mission project of Trinity Wall Street, which has been very active here since 2006.
The first time we went and really helped dig out from under the storm, and that's what we did. Very basic project work by people who wanted to come and hammer And now, I think from our relationship with the folks in New Orleans, with the leaders in New Orleans, what we see is the possibility for using our talents and gifts to be of benefit, to be in mutual friendship with folks in New Orleans, and that's been a remarkable thing.
Trinity's mission team in the summer of 2009 had a very specific focus: music. 7 members of the Trinity Choir spent a week at All Souls working with children from the neighborhood.
The choir camp this summer, I think, represents a real turning point, not only for our work in New Orleans, but for our mission work generally, that we have things to offer our partners that can be supportive of them and that we learn from them in turn.
Sharon Hardy, a Trinity Wall Street congregation member, is a veteran of many recent Trinity-sponsored work trips to New Orleans.
So after Katrina, I just couldn't imagine not being here and coming back and saying, what can I do? Especially after being in New York and witnessing and living through 9/11, I even feel a different type of sense to be drawn here and help lend a hand.
After any disaster, churches often become the first responders. After the attacks on the World Trade Center, Trinity Wall Street grew an emergency ministry for recovery workers at St. Paul's Chapel, across the street from Ground Zero. The ministry was totally unplanned when it began, and it operated 24/7 for 9 months as a response to people in crisis. That experience provides a kind of kinship with what is happening at All Souls, and perhaps a model for all churches.
As a church, we're called to be in the risky, dangerous place, oftentimes, a place where life and death is at stake, and I think that you can't always plan that.
From St. Louis Cathedral on Jackson Square, across from Café du Monde, to the incredible 90-degree turn of the Mississippi River at Esplanade Dock at the edge of the French Quarter, to the gumbo mix of people, food, and music, this is a city that remains the most culturally unique place in the United States. Sure, there's a long way to go, especially in what local folks call the Lower Nine, where less than 20% of the homes have been rebuilt and where a lot of commercial infrastructure has still not yet come back. But to see the new levee and the environmentally friendly new homes financed by actor Brad Pitt, you start to get the sense of a new commitment here to overcome the catastrophe of Katrina. And you really feel that spirit permeating this small but growing congregation called All Souls Episcopal Church.
All Souls is a church that was not ever in anyone's plan or vision or imagination before Hurricane Katrina. And I think it's something that we should all pay attention to, that when the church actually does the work of being church, of really living the good news and preaching the gospel not only in words but in deeds, that the church does grow.
I know that I am where God wants me to be. I know that I am where I want to be, that this is the place for me at this time. And in spite of the hard work and the trials sometimes, this is a heavenly place for an old man like me to be at this time.